Well, listen, one of the best parts we were talking about my job is I have the great fortune of engaging with banks on a global basis and solving some of your hardest problems. And while the details may differ by region or by institution, there are some common themes that sound very, very familiar. You are under constant pressure to move faster, to protect your customers, to meet regulatory expectations, and deliver experiences that your customers trust. And Udo, through it all, you need to be thinking about the entire value chain of what you provide.
Yeah, and when you look at banking end-to-end, Stu, like you always do, I know that's on your mind, every step is connected, isn't it? Right? Every step carries responsibility. And this is, Stu, in my mind, where models and agents truly become operational. Every transaction, every approval, every alert, banks are deciding whether a moment is trustworthy. So Stu, you are the dedicated expert for all of this. So help us understand, how are banks juggling that challenge? Being, viewed with big data and massive changes in the economy.
Yeah, Udo, I mean, listen, it's a really good question, and there's no doubt there's challenges that are out there, but the reality is banking institutions are going through a massive IT rationalization movement, and you're just at the forefront of it. And really leading the charge is integrating customer decisions, because this is going to create a differentiated experience and help you control costs. Of course, while delivering the agility that you all need in the complexity of today's environment. Each year, SAS decisions over 300 billion transactions, saving our customers and consumers over $500 million in fraud. And fraud prevention is one of the things that's helping pave the way for you as banks to reduce some of the complexity of your decision-making process. So rather than us sit up here and tell you how that works, let's hear it from someone who lives this every single day. Dinesh Jayaraman leads enterprise fraud decisioning for Discover, and his team uses SAS to make over 350 million fraud decisions each month. So join me in welcoming Dinesh to the stage. Dinesh, thank you for being here with us at SAS Innovate. Excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with this. At the highest level, when you think about the value drivers between integrating your decisioning architectures between risk and fraud, what are those value drivers?
I think the key value drivers in a long-haul effort, like consolidating your fraud infrastructure, are improving customer experience and simplifying your fraud architecture. When you have a fragmented decisioning ecosystem, you end up with different outcomes based on the touch points. And the customer typically gets a very inconsistent decisioning experience. There is a push towards making this decisioning experience a lot more consistent and also unified. The other thing is operational complexity. Multiple engines, disjointed workflows can actually lead to a situation where very simple changes are much more harder than they are required to be. Simplifying your fraud infrastructure can actually make decisioning a lot more agile and a lot more responsive. While it all starts with fraud, eventually and naturally it expands to broader risk use cases.
Well, I love the simplification to drive agility. It's a great concept.
So Dinesh, as part of your journey, you are also using some of our industry-built, ready-made models. So thank you for that. So can you maybe talk a little bit about how this changed your strategy when it comes to detecting fraud?
Sure. In most environments, SAS models play a complementary role to the internal models and strategies. While they are not true replacements, they are extremely strong enhancers. In the ever-evolving fraud landscape, managing performance of your strategies is very important, and combining two modeling approaches is definitely important to just improve your performance. The other thing is diversification. When you are using a single modeling approach, you tend to create a lot of blind spots. To avoid those blind spots, it's always a great idea to just bring in a different modeling approach, add those perspectives, which can actually expand your coverage and make your strategy a lot more resilient. While it is always about improving your performance, making sure you are having a good coverage across all fraud typologies is also very important.
Awesome.
So Dinesh, I know we've talked a lot about at this conference VIA, and I know as part of your journey you've evaluated VIA 4. How is that innovation helping you achieve your end state vision?
In most legacy environments, data, models, and strategy are all built and managed and deployed in independent silos. I look at this innovation in the lens of bringing together the three components, data, models, and strategy, into a single fraud framework. Now, what it does is it changes the way people interact with decisioning. Today, product, technology, strategy, and analytics, all the 4 teams are able to interact with a single ecosystem, and they're able to understand each other a lot more easily. The other thing is there is an increasing emphasis on explainability. When you are trying to interpret the decisioning from a very simple and unified kind of a framework, explaining the decisioning to the regulators as well as to internal compliance is a lot easier. And finally, when you have a simple ecosystem, iterating through changes and deploying and deriving value becomes a lot more easier.
Well, Dinesh, thank you so much for sharing your story at SAS Innovate.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Well, what stood out to me, Udo, in that conversation wasn't just about the scale of what they're looking to do. It was about responsibility, because as Dinesh said, every decision that they're making is creating a moment of trust.
That's right, Stu. And when the stakes are that high and decisions move this fast, models are no longer just inputs to the decision. They are the decision. And that changes everything. It changes the questions we can ask. Does it scale? How will it perform consistently in a production environment? And will it address regulatory compliances? Now, Stu, as you know, we've taken decades of experience working with customers globally and built them into industry-ready models. These models, Stu, have been proven at scale. It's a mind-boggling number. Across 32 billion transactions in the US alone. So a lot of credit card swiping, folks. Thank you very much. So what used to take years to build is now ready to run and available today.
Well, and I know on behalf of the industry, we thank you and your team for the work you're doing, because these models that we're talking about are stopping fraudulent activity while allowing legitimate customers to move through the process with limited friction. And as you bankers know, that is everything within your environment. Protect the institution while serving your customer. That's how models shape the entire customer experience. And what really matters beyond just preventing fraud is what that customer experiences throughout all of their interactions with the bank. And to make this more real, we would now like to invite to the stage Kate Parker, who's going to show us how agents are driving better customer experiences across all of the banking journeys. Kate?
Thank you, Stu and Udo, and welcome everybody. Happy to be here. From the customer's perspective, it's all one experience. In banking or in any industry, the question becomes, how do you carry the same sense of trust forward across the entire customer journey, ensuring that each moment of engagement is both relevant and meaningful, both to the organization and to the customer? But let's focus in on marketing for a moment. At its core, marketing is about understanding people and making thoughtful choices on how to best engage with them. But marketers are under pressure. Organizations are under pressure, facing the demands of hyper-personalization. They're being asked to do things faster, with more data, and even greater responsibility. Agentic AI helps by taking on some of the heavy lifting, so marketers can stay focused on intent, message, and impact. It turns ideas into action while keeping people firmly in control. Here you'll see how SAS supports marketers by handling some of that foundational work, like creating customer journeys and building audiences while keeping both transparency and oversight front and center. In this example, we begin with something simple. It's a Word document. It's a marketing brief that outlines the goals, the audience that we want to engage with, and ultimately the experience that we want our customers to have. The agent reads the brief, understands the context, including any images, and proposes a plan to move forward. But before anything is created, the plan is returned for review. Nothing moves ahead without approval. And this step matters. It ensures that people stay in control of decisions that affect customers. Now, once the journey is approved, you can watch the journey take shape in real time. The journey name, the goals, the schedule are all based on the brief's inputs. But behind the scenes, we actually have multiple agents working together across our entire solution. One that's responsible for building out the customer journey that you see here, but another that's responsible for building out the audience, who we want to engage with. And they're using the right data and the right attributes to support meaningful and respectful customer engagement. Now, when the work is complete, the agent provides a clear summary: what was done, what still needs input, and where additional improvements can be made. Everything is visible, reviewable, and additional changes can be made to further refine the output of the journey and the audience's agent. This level of openness is essential for trust. It's also central to how SAS approaches AI, using automation to reduce manual effort, but again, ensuring that people remain accountable for outcomes. Now, by taking care of some of these operational tasks, teams can spend more time on what matters most: listening to customers, making thoughtful decisions on how to best engage with them, and building experiences that earn trust over time. And with that, I'll welcome Stu and Udo back to the stage.
Thank you, Kate. And what Kate just showed brings banking full circle, because from the customer's point of view, it's never about fraud or risk or marketing in isolation. It's about how that is all managed into a singular experience.